السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أرحب بجميع المتابعين في جميع أنحاء العالم. الآن أريد أن أعيد محاضرة طرق التدريس التي ألقيتها الأسبوع الماضي، وكانت بعنوان Language Skills and Subskills. أعتذر لأني لم أضع إعلان، فأنا لا أستطيع التنبؤ بجدول مواعيدي، هو مزدحم وملخبط قليلا. Okay, so I'm going to talk about language skills and subskills. And this is one of the things that a foreign language teacher should know before she plans to teach a foreign language. First of all, I'm going to talk about language components. When we say the English language, Arabic language, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Russian, what does a language consist of? If the language is spoken, then it consists of phonology or spoken sounds. And if it's written, then it consists of written symbols, and those we call them graphology. The other thing, it consists of words, and words are put together to form sentences according to the language rules. So, any language consists of either phonology or graphology, plus lexical items, vocabulary, words, you just can call them anything, and also grammar. And grammar consists of morphology and syntax. Syntax means word order, how we put words together to form questions, statements, exclamatory sentences, passive, active, negative. And morphology shows how we can form singular, plural, feminine, masculine, tense, aspect, comparative or comparison, and so on. The other thing that's important in teaching foreign languages is knowing what communication is. Now, why do we use language? What is language important for? Language is important for communication. Now, a communication situation, what does it consist of? It consists of three things: the sender or the speaker. Now, in this case, I'm the sender because I'm the speaker, and you are the receivers of the message, and there is a message, and the message in our case is the lecture I'm giving. So there is a sender, and the sender, if he's speaking, then he's the speaker or she's the speaker. If the sender is an author, so the message is written, and in the case of listening, the receiver is the listener. In the case of written communication, the receiver is the reader. And in between, we have a message. Now, the sender communicates a message to the receiver. The message can be oral, spoken, and it can be written. Now, when we have a text, what does a text consist of? If the text is written, then it consists of printed symbols, and the symbols can be letters, vowels, consonants, digraphs, can be mathematical symbols, chemical symbols, or any other symbols, abbreviations. It consists of words, and those are put into phrases or into sentences, and the sentences are put into paragraphs. And a written text can be as short as one sentence and as big as a book. In the case of a book, the book consists of chapters, and each chapter consists of sections, and the sections consist of smaller subsections. Now, the spoken text consists of sounds. These are opposite to the printed symbols because they are spoken. And also the sounds are put together to form words. The words are put together to form phrases, and the phrases are put together to form sentences, and the sentences are put together to form graphemes. Now, the spoken text, we call it discourse, oral discourse. And the discourse can be, in our case, as long as a lecture that may last for hours. So regardless, whether it's short, it's long, it is called discourse, and it consists of sounds, words, phrases, sentences. Now, language skills and language elements. What are the language skills and what are the language elements? Now, there are 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading, writing. And the language elements, those are the building blocks from which listening, speaking, reading, writing consists. Now, the language elements, we have either phonemes or graphemes, and the phonemes are the spoken sounds, the graphemes are the printed symbols. We put those together to form words, and then the words are put together to form sentences according to grammatical rules. And also, we pay attention to the endings of words. We change verbs into nouns, nouns into adjectives, or a singular noun into plural, feminine into masculine, masculine into feminine, and so on. Okay, now the language skills are not the same. Listening and reading, we call those receptive skills because the receiver of the message receives, does not speak, does not write. So the sender is the one who does the speaking and writing, and the receiver listens and then understands the message, or reads and understands the message in the text. Speaking and writing, these are the productive skills because the receiver of the message, what he does, he speaks or writes, produces the language in speaking orally, and in writing, and in our case the student, the foreign language student, produces the language in the form of writing, in a written essay or letter or article, whatever. Now I'm going to go to start with the listening skills and try to analyze very briefly and generally, because if I want to talk the listening skills, I need a whole lecture. And similarly, speaking skills, reading and writing skills. So, speaking skills, when we speak, we need 2 skills. When we listen, we need to have 2 skills. Something called auditory discrimination or identification. Auditory from audit, and audit means listen. So auditory means listening discrimination. What do we mean by listening discrimination? When we hear a person speak English, speak French, speak Russian, speak German, Japanese, Chinese, we need to be able to identify the sounds that we hear. That this is a consonant, this is a vowel, this is a diphthong, this is a syllable, this is a suffix, this is a prefix. And also we need to discriminate between phonemes. There are different types of phonemes. For example, in the case of Arabic, we have plain and emphatic consonants. So the student who learns Arabic as a foreign language should be able to discriminate between ta and ta, ha and kha. For example, now when I teach Russian students Arabic, the girl could not say تحت. She said, they say تحت. They cannot say the ha. So no matter how hard I tried, they could not. So they need to discriminate between phonemes, da, da, tha, va, in English, f, v, sa, za, ja, and ja. Also, minimal pairs. Students need to discriminate minimal pairs. Now, what do we mean by minimal pairs? Minimal pairs are two words and they differ in one sound. The sound can be a consonant and it can be a vowel. For example, in English, sit and sat. Now, the vowel in sit is not like the vowel in sat. Or sad and sad in Arabic. Kal, qal. And should discriminate, also identify syllables, especially endings. When we speak and we produce or we hear words, spoken words, there are sounds that change depending on what sound comes before, what sound comes after. For example, news. Now, news, the S is pronounced za when it's the only word. And paper is pronounced paper. But when we put the two words together, news, paper, now we devoice the Z and becomes an S. Why? Because the P is voiceless. So what we do, we cannot move our vocal organs from voiced to voiceless, from one consonant to the other, voiced consonant to voiceless consonant, because they are next to each other. So we have to assimilate. We have to devoice one consonant, which is the Z, so that both are voiceless. News, paper. Also, sometimes when we pronounce words, we delete some sounds. For example, student, we have an N and a T at the end, but when we add an S, we delete the T. Students. And there are other examples. I need a whole lecture, like I said before, to go through listening skills and give detailed information. Another thing is pause and juncture. And here, like in the flow of speech, the student needs to identify when the sentence, a sentence begins and when it ends. So the end of a sentence, we call it pause. And then when like two words are connected together, in Arabic, القطع والوصل. For example, قالت. تاء التأنيث هنا ساكنة. But if I have البنات after قالت, بنكسر التاء. قالت البنات. Why? منعا لالتقاء الساكنين بالعربي. Okay, something else that we have to pay attention to is stress. And also stress is a very detailed topic. I need a whole lecture to talk about it. We have word stress. We have sound stress. Word stress, sometimes the stress changes the part of speech and changes the meaning. For example, present. She gave me a present. Stress here is on the first syllable. But if I say, I am presenting a lecture. I present. Now, present, the stress is on the second syllable and makes it a verb, and the meaning is completely different from present, which is either she gave me a present, a noun, or she is present. It's an adjective. It means she's in class. So, stress can change the meaning and can change the part of speech. And another English example, comment and comment. Now, comment, this is a noun, and stress is on the first syllable. Comment is a verb, and stress is on the second syllable. Another issue in auditory identification and discrimination is intonation. Intonation is how we say a sound. For example, we pronounce a statement not like a question. In Arabic, for example, فين رحتي? The end of the question is rising. جاء الولد مثلا دخل أخي. This is a statement. The end of the statement is falling, has a falling intonation, whereas the end of a question in Arabic has a rising intonation. In English, it's the opposite. In questions, the end of the question has a falling intonation, whereas the end of a statement has a rising intonation. Okay, now the second skill is, major skill, is auditory comprehension or listening comprehension. It's not enough to identify phonemes, consonants, vowels, and discriminate phonemes, minimal pairs, syllables, recognize assimilation, elision, intonation, stress. The ultimate goal is comprehension. Now, when you listen to a lecture or a movie, or you listen to the news on TV, you understand the main ideas, and also you understand details. Details like what? When there is statistics, there is time or space order, cause-effect relationships, comparisons, contrast, chronological order, character traits in the case of stories. Of course, like I said, these, I need a whole lecture to go through them in detail and give detailed examples. Now I move on to the speaking skill, and speaking is a productive skill. And here we have, again, two major skills: oral production of speech sounds and oral expression. Now, the oral expression is parallel to listening comprehension and reading comprehension. And the oral production of phonemes is parallel to identifying speech sounds and discriminating, of course, phonemes. Now, when we produce phonemes and speech sounds orally, what do? We pronounce phonemes, consonants, syllables. Instead of saying Pepsi, we say Pepsi. So, here we should be able to pronounce phonemes, consonants, vowels, syllables, allophones, geminates correctly. Another thing is stressing words and sentences like present, present, comment, comment, record, record. We should stress the word on the first syllable or the second syllable depending on the part of speech and depending on meaning. separate, separate, intimate, intimate. And the other thing, intonation. When we speak, we have to use correct intonation. When we produce statements and questions, exclamation, and pause and juncture, we should know where to stop and when to connect words with each other. The other major oral speaking skill is oral expression. And here we express ourselves, express ideas orally. And oral expression includes correct sense formation. We form correct senses. And by senses, I mean passive, active, questions, statements, negative, exclamation, all kinds of questions. And also, the correct production of longer stretches of discourse at the paragraph level, essay level. It also includes the ability to generate ideas. If we want to talk about pollution, the speaker should be able to generate ideas, give ideas, like defining pollution, types of pollution, causes of pollution, the solution or solutions for the different kinds of pollution, how we can reduce pollution. Okay, so the ability to organize ideas. And the other thing, we don't just give ideas in a random order. We have to organize ideas depending on the types of ideas. If we have enumeration, we have cause-effect, we have compare-contrast, we have chronological order, and so on. Oral expression also includes the ability to use correct vocabulary, to choose the right words for the topic we are talking about, and also the right grammatical structures or correct grammatical structures. We have to use, of course, correct pronunciation and stress, intonation. It also covers fluency and speed, and those go under oral production of speech sounds. Now, the third skill is reading skills. And the reading skill is a receptive skill, like listening. And the skills are similar to the listening skills. Instead of identification of speech sounds here, word identification. We identify, we recognize, we decode the printed symbols on paper. And word identification includes several skills, such as visual configuration. We see the word right. By looking at it without even examining it, we recognize it and we read it. Enough, for example, we see it, we know that this is that the G and H are pronounced F. Sometimes we have pictures, so decoding includes the ability to understand those picture clues and relate the picture to ideas in the text. If we have statistics, we have graphs, we have a map, we have a table. We also have phonic clues, things that help us decode words. If we had a word like television, now we have S-I-O-N. So S-I-O-N, these, it's not télévision. Télévision is in French, but not in English. But it's television. It changes into Jean. Jean. We also have semantic clues that help us figure out the meanings of words from context, such as definitions, examples, punctuation marks. They help us identify the meanings of difficult words. Word structure clues. When we see the suffixes, prefixes, the root, sometimes even if the word is new and we have some idea about prefixes, suffixes, root, we can figure out its meaning. We can figure out its part of speech from its suffixes. There are specific suffixes for nouns, other suffixes for adjectives, other suffixes for verbs. So by examining the suffixes at the end of the word, we can guess the part of speech. Now the other major reading skill is reading comprehension. And here we have two major skills. We have reading product and reading process. Now when we start reading a text, we begin with the first paragraph, first word, second word, third word, first line, second line, third line, and then second paragraph, first word, second word, third word, first line, second line, third line, last line, and so on. At the end, we understand. We comprehend something. So, the reading product means after we finish, what do you understand from the text? We understand the literal meaning of the text. We understand the inferential meaning. Also, we have critical reading, and we have appreciation, like in the case of poetry. We understand, we explain, we figurative language. Critical reading, when we verify fact and opinion, we don't just take the text for granted as it is. Inferential reading, when we infer ideas that are not clearly stated. For example, if I say Sarah is 9 years old and Maha is 3 years older. How old is Maha? Maha is 12. Now 12 is not mentioned in the two senses. We have to do something in our brain to figure out the meaning. And what we do, adding 9 plus 3, this is mathematics, addition. So, if we cannot add, we will not be able to tell how old Maha is. So here, inferencing or inferring the meaning, inferring ideas, requires some background knowledge. And in this case, knowledge of addition in mathematics. Now, the reading process. The reading process is what goes on in our brain while we are reading the text, beginning with the first word, second word, third word, first sentence, second sentence, first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth paragraph, first page, second page, first chapter, second chapter, last chapter. There are things that go on in our mind. Now, what are these things? They are on the next page. One thing is decoding. What we do, we try to convert printed symbols into sounds, into phonemes, especially in the case of words that we never encountered before. Another thing is that we identify word meaning. Now, we put graphemes or printed symbols together to make words, and then we recognize the shape of the word, the form of the word, and from the form we recognize, we identify, we find out the word, the meaning of the word. So when it comes to words or vocabulary, we have two things. We have word form and meaning. Okay, then words are put together in the paragraph to make sentences. We need to be able to identify the types of sentences used in a particular paragraph or text, whether it's question, embedded sentence, complex sentence, compound sentence, passive, active, negative, emphatic, cleft, pseudo-cleft. And of course, some clues, some things in the sense help us. If there is that, who, relative pronouns, then we can recognize complex senses very easily if we notice them. If I say, it is Muhammad who broke the window. Now this is different from Muhammad broke the window. The meaning is different. Why? Because of the sentence structure. Also, we have to identify the text structure, how ideas, paragraphs are organized. What do we have here? Do we have classification? Do we have definition? Does the text describe a machine, for example? Does it tell me about the history of something? And what happened in one year, what happened in another year? Chronological order. Do you have cause-effect? Causes of cancer, for example, or car accidents? Also, in a text, we have pronouns. He, they, their, them. Different types of pronouns. We have to be able to connect each pronoun with its referent. If there is he in the text, then we have to look back or ahead to find out who he refers to. Sometimes we have 2-3 people, 2-3 names mentioned in the text. So we have to find out the referent for he, the exact referent. And making inferences, like the example I gave. Sarah is 9 years old and Maha is 3 years older. And using our background knowledge. When we know something about the topic of the text, we understand it better than a text that we never heard of, or a topic that we never heard of. Okay, these, in brief, these subskills consist the reading process. Now, writing skills. When we write, we need to do several things. First, we identify the topic, and then the reader. Who's going to read the essay I'm going to write? High school students, college students, adults, professionals, specialists, Arabs, Europeans. And why I'm writing the text. What kind of text I'm going to write or write about? Am I describing something? Giving information about something? Is it a persuasive article? Am I trying to convince somebody of something? So we need to identify the purpose. The other thing, we need to be able to generate ideas. When we're required to write an essay, to generate ideas, we ask questions using the question words that we know, such as what, where, who, whom, why, how, when. So we use those question words one by one to come up with ideas. Then next, what's the use of having many ideas, but we cannot spell the words, write the words down? We don't know how to spell them. The school, I spell it S-K-O-O-L. So this is wrong. People won't be able to read it or to figure it out. So the first thing that we have to do, we have to be able to write down the words. correctly, and then make senses. Use the right words related to the topic. If it's about cancer, if it's about pollution, about car accidents. And then write paragraphs. We should be able to write sentences and then form paragraphs. So a paragraph consists of a main idea or a topic sentence and details. And the whole essay has a thesis statement at the beginning, which is a general statement that tells the author, the reader, that what the whole essay is about. Now, if we write a 5-paragraph essay, then the first paragraph should be an introduction, the last one, a conclusion, and the 3 in the middle, here we develop the ideas. So if we're writing about pollution, in one paragraph we talk about the types of pollution. Second paragraph, we talk about the causes of pollution. Third paragraph, we talk about the solutions. And in the end, we have to write some kind of conclusion. In the first paragraph, we have to introduce pollution, define pollution, the disadvantages of pollution, the consequences, what happens. Okay, then we write the first draft. After we write the first draft, we have to revise it and then correct spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, change sentences, change the order of sentences, add things, delete things, and then write the final draft. We also have to check punctuation marks, capital letters. If we have several titles or headings, so we should know which one is the main heading and where to put it, and which ones we put on the side, subheadings, the subheadings, where we put them. If we're typing the essay, we should know how to format the essay. If you've written a story, then it has one format, which is different from a letter and which is different from, let's say, an essay or a report. Now, these skills I have talked about right now, these show the process of writing. Now, when we start just with the idea, with the topic, and then go through steps until we finish the essay. Now, we call all of those steps and the different kinds of things that go on in our brain, we call those the process of writing. Now, another major writing skill is the product of writing. Product of writing means what types of text do we write? We write letters, we write essays, reports, questionnaires, stories, newspaper articles, you just name it, children's stories, a novel, a play, many kinds of writing. And we call all of those writing products. Now, in order to write each of them, we have to go through the process skills, starting with the idea, with the purpose, with the reader, receiver, thesis statement, the first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, sentence structure, choice of word, connecting the words and the sentences together and the paragraphs together, organizational structure, check punctuation, spelling, indentation, capitalization, all of those things. And also formatting the text. Okay, now here I have writing product, and if we classify the writing product according to the text types, then we have different text types: letters, personal letters, business letters, application forms, articles, reports, whether The reports are medical reports, technical reports, lab reports, stories, novels, plays, poetry, newspaper articles, research paper, theses or thesis, and so on. Another thing, okay, I mentioned all of those, identifying a recipient for the writing, identifying a purpose, generating ideas, organizing ideas, writing a thesis statement, developing a paragraph, developing an essay, multi-paragraphs, word choice, sentence structure, and so on. Now also, if we talk about the writing product, and we classify the types of writing product depending on the purpose, then we have several types. We have informative essay, descriptive essay, argumentative essay, narrative essay. Okay, more about the writing process: choosing appropriate sentence structures, writing the first draft, revising, writing the final draft, correct spelling, indentation, punctuation, capitalization, choosing appropriate format depending on the text type. Now, I move on to the language elements. And here I have two, the spoken and the written. Phonology refers to the spoken part and graphology to the written part. So phonology means the phonemes, consonants, vowels, allophones, syllables, words, stress, intonation, and so on. We talked about them. Graphology means the graphemes, and here we have written symbols, the letters, the graphemes, and they can be consonants, vowels, vowel digraphs, or consonant digraphs. Okay, vocabulary, or words, or lexicon, or lexical items. And when we know vocabulary, or when we teach vocabulary, we have to teach the word form and the word meaning. Now, when we say the word form means how the word is spelt, pronunciation, its part of speech, the singular and plural forms, feminine and masculine forms. If we have a verb, then how the verb is conjugated, whether the word is standard or non-standard, and other things. Now, when we talk about word meaning, we mean a word can have, of course, all words have a denotative meaning. Denotative meaning is the lexical meaning, the dictionary meaning. We also have a connotative meaning. And this depends on several things, such as the person's experience. Also, its synonyms, antonyms, whether it's a homophone, it's a homograph, whether it's an idiom, a proverb, a cliche, it's a slang word, a euphemism, a simile, a metaphor. So these are all related to meaning. Now, grammar, when we teach grammar, we teach three things: morphology, syntax, word formation. And students need to recognize and produce. Recognize, such as in reading and listening. Recognize morphology and syntax, word formation. And produce also morphology, syntax, and word formation. Now, what do we mean by morphology? It means the way a language shows gender. When we change a word from masculine to feminine, talib, taliba, what do we add? We add ta. Lion, lioness, poet, poetess. Okay, number not 1, 2, 3. Number means singular, plural, duo. So, talib, tulab, taliba, talibat. Muhandis, muhandisun. بالعربي. مهندسة، مهندسات. إما مهندسون أو مهندسين depending on the case. Okay, person, first person, second person, third person. يعني if we have a verb in Arabic and I want to say أكلت, هذا first person. أكل, third person. أكلت, third person. أكلوا, أكلنا, third person. أكلتم, أكلتن, أكلتما. نحن أكلنا, first person. أكلتم, أكلتما, أكلتن, second person. So we call this person, first, second, third. Case, genitive case, nominative case, subjective, objective case. So مثلا أكلتها, رأيتها, رأيتكم, رأيتهم. Okay. Tense and aspect, same thing. How do we change a verb from present to past or past to present in Arabic? أكل, يأكل. أكلت, آكل. أكلنا, نأكل. أكلوا, يأكلون. يأكلن, يأكلان, تأكلان. So this is tense. And at the same time فيها number and gender and person at the same time. Okay, mood, like imperative mood, subjunctive mood. Transitivity, when a verb is transitive, intransitive. يعني بالعربي اللازم والمتعدي. جاء محمد، هذا فعل لازم لا يأخذ مفعول به. ورأيت محمدا، رأى فعل متعدي يأخذ مفعول به. In English it's the same. He's sitting, sit ما تأخذ object. But he showed me the picture, it takes an object. Voice, passive, active in both languages. Comparison. In English we add ER, EST for superlative. وبالعربي أكبر, أصغر, أطول, أقصر, and so on. Syntax means word order. And here we mean sentence types, how we form questions, how do we change a statement to a question, to a negative, to passive, to active, to a complex sense, embedded sense, emphatic sense. Something else, sentence transformations, when we change one sense from one type, as a sense from one type to another. Agreement, that's the agreement, we mean agreement between the subject and the verb, the noun and the adjective, the pronoun and the referent. Now the subject and the verb, if it's feminine, then feminine in Arabic. Singular, singular, plural, plural. But there are exceptional cases. There are rules for these. And Arabic, in English, it's the same way. I say the boy is, but the boys are. The girl was, the girls were. Word formation. By word formation, we mean derivation and compounding. How we form compounds, two words together, high school, whitewash, dining room. And derivation, when we have the word production, verb is produce, producer, productivity, productive, product. So all these are derivatives. In Arabic, of course, we have too many of those. اسم فاعل, اسم مفعول, صيغة مبالغة, اسم مكان, اسم زمان, وهكذا. Production, the same things that I talked about. On the left, the student recognizes those in listening and reading, and in speaking, in writing, produces those. Has to attach or mark the word for the correct gender, correct number, correct person, correct case, tense, mood, transitivity. Voice also should know how to produce a passive voice SAS, how to change it into active. Comparison, if we compare two people, we compare many. Word formation, should know the different derivatives of a word, what part of speech each is. Production, it's a noun. Productivity, it's a noun, but another type of noun. And productive, adjective. Produce can be a verb, can be a noun. Product, it's a noun, and so on. Compounding, two words together used as one unit. And we have three types of compounds. In one compound, the two words are separate, like high school. In another type, the two words are hyphenated, like self-confidence. In a third type, they are spelled together, like whitewash. Okay, something else related to the skills that we need to teach the students, language functions. And functions are expressions that we use every day when we greet each other, introduce ourselves, agree, disagree, complain, make appointments, in condolences, congratulations, compliments, making predictions, requests, telling a story, visiting the doctor, giving advice, and so on. There are whole books about language functions. And language functions exist in all languages, even in Arabic. Of course, when you congratulate, and we have too many of those. For example, when you congratulate someone, Mubarak. For example, when somebody dies, you say, عظم الله أجرك, Allah يرحمه, يغفر له, and so on. We have too many different ways for using functions, language functions, for any single, complimenting مثلا. إذا نبغى نمدح شخص مثلا لابس ملابس جميلة, and we want to compliment the person, what we say in Arabic. We have also different ways. Okay, the last thing that we should teach the students, or a language teacher should teach the students, is culture. We cannot separate language and culture. When we teach Arabic, we have also to teach Arabic culture. When we teach English, we have to teach English culture, Japanese culture, Chinese culture, and so on. Briefly, culture means way of life, or the way we do things. Now, there are different components of culture, or characteristics of culture, or elements of culture. Elements of culture such as, for example, telling the time. Now, the way we tell the time in Arabic is not like the way we tell the time in English or French. Meal times and what we eat for breakfast in Saudi Arabia, and what people eat for breakfast in America or in the UK. The types of food that we eat and cook. Of course, even in Arab countries, food differs from one country to another. Clothes as well, costumes also differ from one country. Traditional costumes in particular, they differ from one Arab country to another. Feasts and celebrations, festivals, wedding parties, religion, shopping, sports, games, architectural styles, the educational system. For example, in Russia, they don't have 12 years. They have 11 years. In Saudi Arabia, we have 12 years. In some countries, they have 6 years elementary, 3 years junior high, 3 years high school. In other countries, from 1st grade to 9th grade, they say 7th grade, 8th grade, 10th grade, 9th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. In Saudi Arabia or Jordan, for example, we say أولى ابتدائي، ثانية ابتدائي، أولى متوسط، ثانية متوسط، or أولى إعدادي، ثانية إعدادي، وأولى ثانوي، ثانية ثانوي، أو ثانوي is the same word. Okay, social classes, music, customs, art, children's literatures, and other things. Okay, that's the end of the lecture. And please accept my apologies because I didn't announce the time for giving this presentation, because here I'm a visiting professor and I don't have much control over my time. Like when I'm in Saudi Arabia, I don't know what I will be doing. Sometimes when I get back to the hotel, I'm extremely tired and don't have the energy to give a presentation. I want to just rest and relax. Okay, so if you have any questions, I'm sure you know most of those things, but for undergraduate students, they need to learn about the language skills. You cannot go to the classroom and be a language teacher, teach children or high school students or even undergraduate students, teach them a foreign language, whether it's Arabic, Russian, German, Chinese, French, without knowing which language you should teach and which skills you should also teach, in which order you should go teaching. We can't teach comprehension before, listening comprehension, for example, before training the students and teaching them to discriminate sounds, the spoken sounds, and the words, stress, intonation. Similarly, in writing or reading, we cannot expect the students to understand a text without knowing how to figure out the meanings of difficult words in context, and also what a specific word, how it is pronounced, what it means, its part of speech, what suffixes and prefixes it contains. Okay, I will try, inshallah, next time to broadcast the second lecture, and it will be about teaching methods, but I don't know how good the connection will be. Last time I didn't know that I was disconnected and only 1 minute was recorded. This time, inshallah, I will check every now and then to make sure that I'm connected and the broadcasting is going on, or I will try to see if I can get a password for the Wi-Fi and if there is Wi-Fi in the classroom. Okay, now I'm gonna say goodbye and good night, and inshallah see you next time.